And we're back.
Hi, everyone, and we're back. And I'm absolutely delighted to introduce our next speaker, Nick Heger. And this is a controversial topic, and I think this is going to be really, really interesting. Please join us on the Discord chat on this one, because hold on to your seats. This is going to get wild. So over to you, Nick.
All right.
Correction.
Thanks. First off, thanks everybody. This is my first time ever giving a talk at a conference, and I am so excited, and also, tiny bit nervous, but like mostly real excited. So hi everybody. I'm Nick. I'm a telecom administrator at the University of Manitoba here in sunny Winnipeg, even though it's not sunny at all right now. We're going to talk today a little bit about phishing pretexts in simulated engagements, specifically in the context of COVID. The coronavirus pandemic, it's obviously given us a lot of things for people to be stressed and nervous about, and we're seeing that exploited pretty significantly in the wild by malicious actors. So we're going to try and address what this means in the context of simulated attacks, and see if we can't come up with a set of rules that will enable us to use this or not, as the case may be, if it seems more responsible. All right, so real quick outline here, just so that we all know what we're getting into. There's going to be some interesting facts about where I'm from and where I work. We're going to talk about what elements contribute to a good pretext. We're also going to talk real briefly about why we even bother with phishing simulations. And then we're going to talk about some suggestions about integrating COVID into your phishing simulations or not. Also, I've got a lot of memes in my presentation. I'm hoping that if it's not super informative for you, at least it can be entertaining. All right, so fun Winnipeg facts. I'm going to assume that most people aren't from Canada here in the audience. This is a picture that I took last winter, and it was as cold as it looks. So the two things that every Canadian knows about Winnipeg are that it gets real cold in winter, and whenever it's not freezing cold, there are a ton of mosquitoes. There's also an interesting thing. It's been inhabited for the last about 6,000 years, because it's a major meeting place of two rivers and was super vital during canoe trade. And today it's the 8th largest city in Canada, and it's a hub for aerospace, technology, and a ton of agribusiness. So I work at the University of Manitoba. Is it really a university if it doesn't have some kind of castle-like structure? I don't think it counts. I'm a telecom administrator. I oversee about 10,000 Cisco and Avaya VoIP endpoints, as well as about 1,000 cell phones. I noticed over the last few years that we very consistently get what I would term or think of as low effort phishing simulation emails from our information security folks. They reflect a lot of what they see and block in real life, but it got me really wondering about who falls for these kind of things and basically what we can do for them. Working at a university, one of the most interesting fringe benefits is that you get free access to almost all the academic journals in the world and any book you can imagine. So the more I got reading into this, because I was curious, the more interesting it became. Phishing research gets me really excited, because I've got a communications degree, and the idea of the psychology of influencing people how to do something that isn't necessarily in their best interest, it's fascinating to me. I'm real bad at diving into things on the deep end, so just for a real quick second, we're going to take a couple of moments here and just do some definitions. Phishing is when a malicious actor uses a crafted message to get a victim to take an action that would otherwise be considered undesirable or insecure. Traditionally, we talk about phishing in terms of account or credential compromise, but with the rise of with the rise of ransomware and like gift card scams and wire transfer scams, I like to expand that definition a little bit to just include any action that is otherwise undesirable or insecure. As an aside, I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but here, anywhere that sells gift cards now has signs the size of my head that say the government isn't going to ask you to pay your taxes with a gift card. The police aren't going to ask you to pay a fine with a gift card. And if you have questions, to talk to the people at customer service. So it's obviously a huge issue, and it's lots of people are falling for it to the tunes of thousands of dollars a day. So why do we even bother with phishing simulations? Pretty much however it goes, somebody's going to fail. Either your red team is going to when your users don't fall for it, or the users are going to fail when they do. The objectives that you have going into this are going to tell a lot about the maturity of your information security program. Your vendor, for example, they probably want as many people as possible to take the bait so that they can sell you follow-up training. Your information security team probably wants something in the middle so they can get a decent feel for the risk and exposure of their business. And then the higher ups, your CIO and your CISO, probably want as few people as possible to fall for it so they can go to their bosses and say, hey, look what we're doing, it's working. The other thing that we do at the university is we feed the phishing simulation to awareness pipeline. In my sort of platonic ideal phishing simulation pipeline, the first time a user clicks on a message, they get a Captain America detention video that says, hey, you clicked on a phishing email. You screwed up. It's okay. Happens to everybody. These are the things you should look out for. Real short video just sort of brings it back to the front of their mind. Second failure, they should be sent to an actual online course through your LMS. Bit more information about recognizing malicious messages and sort of building resistance to them. With a third failure, I would have the half day probably in person and in class thing with your information security team, just so that we can figure out, what it is that's going on. And then fourth time onwards, it's time for one-on-one attention. They probably are, like, something's obviously wrong if they keep falling for the same tricks over and over again. Are they doing it as a joke? Is it malicious? Are they just so overworked that they don't have time to pause and analyze their messages? Because, repeated insecure behavior, it's a huge liability, and we should probably be figuring out the actual root causes for it. So, jumping right in, what makes a real good phishing pretext? Should be timely and relevant to current events. Surprisingly, this is one of those things that is maybe the most controversial. Studies are showing that it only contributes to about a 4% conversion rate. But at the same time, every year at tax time, we see an enormous spike of, hey, this is the government, you need to pay your taxes or else you're going to be in trouble. So it's obviously working for the malicious actors, even if it doesn't necessarily bear out in the research. Your phishing pretext should require some kind of urgent action. There's sort of two ways to go about this. There's the rewards-based or the loss-based. The reward-based is, if you don't click this, you're going to miss out. The fear of missing out, or FOMO. The loss-based is, if you don't click this, you're going to lose access to something important. And this is really interesting and it's important because if you can stimulate someone's fear response, it leads to a 15% decrease in self-efficacy, which is the likelihood that the target will take your correct action. We see this in the real world, as it were, because malicious actors will claim that if you don't take this action or do this thing that we want you to, you're going to go to jail. They should come from a trusted source, or at least they should appear to. This Elon Musk fake Bitcoin Ethereum scam is one of my favorite things in the world. It is wildly successful. They've taken people for about $2 million US that we know of. That's about 1.4 million pounds. And people just send them money and hope that it comes back doubled. So what they're doing is they're combining a need for immediate action, the promotion will only last 24 hours, and the fear of missing out, which, it gets otherwise tech-savvy people with fairly good judgment. Who else invests in like Bitcoin to take actions that otherwise they would just laugh at somebody else for? In a phishing simulation, we can sort of trigger this trusted source or not by making sure that our emails come either from an internal address or from an external address, and hope that people will actually notice that. Pretext should include a trusted design element. Did you know you can right click on any of these logos and just add them to everything? Tag yourself in the chat if you're here with us on Twitch. I am ShopSite High Security. So trusted design elements, they don't need to include the logo. Having something as simple as like a copyright notice at the bottom of your email, or this message is for the use of the intended recipient only. It adds credibility to a message that would otherwise have people strongly doubting. Having the correct design elements, it increases trust and conversion rate between 17 and 25%, which is just incredible. Like that is the biggest single jump that you're going to see. The VeriSign logo on a website has the biggest impact because people recognize it from websites that they like, stuff like Amazon or Wikipedia. But nobody really understands how these things work. And when they're interviewed, they just say, oh yeah, I've seen that before. And they don't know how it secures the website or what it actually means. The other one that I found really entertaining is inclusion of a Twitter or a Facebook link. Increases trustworthiness by 19% in one study, because participants, when they're interviewed about it, are going to say if it was a scam, the victims would post reviews and warn others. So with all of these design elements that we're talking about, how do we still have this problem? If we compare these two messages, the one on the left is an honest to goodness message that a national telecom is sending out during Cybersecurity Awareness Month to get people to download a maybe slightly sketchy looking free mobile security app. On the right, we have a genuine phishing message that we got, which we're going to look at a little bit more detail. They should be well constructed. Few or no spelling or grammar errors, uniform font throughout. If it looks like a ransom note, it's going to get treated like a ransom note. And like this one especially it's one of my favorites that I've ever seen. And it's incredible because there's outages every single day. A lot of them are real short, so your individual users might not notice. The potential win of the free gift it's a reasonable dollar amount. Nobody's saying you're going to win $1 million for this outage, and everything about it is designed to get you to click the slightly sketchy survey link right below it. So, with all that in mind, is coronavirus the ultimate pretext? It's hugely impactful to our day-to-day life. It has caused massive disruptions. Things are changing all the time, so there is urgent action required. You can put basically anything about your government or your company or your universities or the CDC, because nobody's quite sure what can constitute a trusted source, and it generates a huge emotional response. We've all, I'm sure, seen videos of people losing their marbles on servers or retail staff who are just saying, hey, could you just pull your mask up over your nose, please? So let's talk about rules. Is a blanket ban on COVID-related pretexts practicable, and is it desirable? I think we can all agree malicious actors are definitely using COVID as a pretext for crime. That being said, my opinion is that we should take the high road. We still have to work with these people once we're done our simulation. We consistently see about a 10% increase in click rate, more or less regardless of the pretext, and it's debatable if we fool more people, we'll get them into that first step of the pipeline, but at the same time, there is a chance to breed some real resentment about it. I figure by combining training, consistent messaging, and leveraging our technical tools available, so stuff like flagging emails as suspected spam or as external to your organization, and making reporting easier. I'm a big believer in a spam@organization.com email address. We can decrease the incidence of people feeling like they need to click these emails to find out what they're about. On a related note, the front face of our information security program at the university is like the calmest, friendliest dude in the world. And I think that having people who are good at making you feel not stupid for asking questions and not intimidated is really important in terms of getting desirable behavior out of your users. And I think that it goes a long way to finding out problems early versus when you have to institute your disaster recovery plan because you've gotten ransomware. If you are going to use it, I have a couple of suggestions. Excel sheets with macros in them are super tempting as a delivery method, but if you have it pretending to be a list of employees who've not declared that they intend to get vaccinated, a lot of people are going to click on it. A lot of people are going to have bad feelings about it afterwards. One thing we're doing at the university right now is we've got a link to a portal to self-declare your vaccination status, and it'd be a real good thing to fake. Have it fail the first time when they punch in a username and password, and then go to the correct one so that they can actually log in. Most people just assume they typed it wrong, and they will go through and not even think twice about punching their username and password in, and you will get a ton of credentials that way. So I think I'm about out of time. Real quick, if there's any questions or comments, I'm going to hang out in the Discord. I am at Nick Heger on Twitter and N_Hager on Instagram. You can see more pictures of the very cold place that I live.
Wow, that was just awesome. And shout out to my fellow Winnipegger. What's up?
Hey,
I was making fun of every of your accent to all the rest of the beer farmers.
Oh, I have an accent?
Don't you know?
Oh no.
just a tiny one, don't you know?
Oh no.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And I think it really opens a huge dialogue around, what does the relationship need to be between a security team and security awareness programs, and not like humiliating and just becoming the bastard in your organization. I think is a great topic, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on it, and keep the University of Manitoba safe.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cheers, Nick.